This is a recap of an adventure comedy and drama movie called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. The movie starts with Dodge and his wife, Linda, in a car parked by the road, listening to a radio broadcast announcing the failure of the last and only hope of mankind to save themselves from a 70-mile-wide asteroid called Matilda that's about to hit Earth in 3 weeks and completely wipe out all life forms off of it. Dodge does not seem to be bothered much and says that he thinks they missed their exit. To this, Linda reacts by running off and not even looking back once. In the next scene, we see Dodge at the gym listening to the news on TV, saying that the phone signals and services will go out soon, and electricity and such will follow soon. Despite all this, Dodge tries to keep everything in his life normal by keeping up with his everyday routine. We see him going to work despite the heavy traffic, and we get to know that he works as an insurance salesman. We then see a scene of a meeting at the office where the upper management jobs are being given away to anyone willing to work anymore. All this shows how depressing the environment got thanks to the timer set to everyone's lives. Dodge returns home and sees his maid Elsa. He tries to give her time to spend with her family, but she thinks he's firing her. Seeing her confusion, Dodge decides to just let it all go, and they greet each other till next week. Then we see Dodge watching the news about the last flight to take off, and he seems indifferent as ever. In the next scene, we see Dodge with spider bites all over his face as he's going to his friend Warren and his friend's wife, Diane's house for a party, as there are only 14 days left for everyone to live and enjoy whatever they can. There, Diane tells him how Linda was always sad with him, and this hits Dodge as a surprise because he never noticed it. She also offers him to set him up with a friend of hers, as she does not want him dying alone, to which Warren reacts by offering him one of his last 13 cigars and saying that Dodge won't be dying alone. He'll die with everybody else in the world. We then see Diane's friend Karen, who's wearing everything she never wore, and she seems to be really interested in Dodge, but Dodge shows no interest in her. The kids at the party are drinking alcohol as Dodge talks with another one of his friends, Roach. Roach tells him about his recent experiences with different girls and how the world has changed, as no girl worries about getting pregnant or STDs anymore, and how he's been sleeping with a different girl every night ever since the news of the end of the world was announced. He also asks Dodge if he wants to have a night with Karen and him all together. Then the guests at the party start doing heroin. Dodge is next seen hiding in the bathtub. Diane finds him and kisses him, after which he reminds her that she is his friend's wife, and she replies by saying that nobody belongs to anyone anymore. Dodge then returns to his home. He sits on a sofa in his home looking at pictures of his high school sweetheart, Olivia, and plays harmonica. Then we see a girl sobbing right next to the window of his apartment, and as soon as he opens the window, the girl starts crying to him and sharing her disappointment in herself with Dodge, even though they don't even know each other. The girl Penny was his neighbor from downstairs. Penny tells how she missed the flight that could have taken her back home, and now she has no way to go back home even if she wants to go, and how her father would be disappointed by her. She then proceeds to smoke weed on the sofa next to him and falls asleep. We see that she stays asleep and does not wake up when the TV is on a high volume, or when Elsa is vacuuming the apartment, and even when Dodge pinches her nose to stop her from snoring. When she finally wakes up, Dodge goes with her to her apartment, where she gives him all the letters from the last 3 years that the mailman accidentally put in her mailbox instead of his. She also says that his roommate looks really happy with her boyfriend, breaking the news of his wife being a cheater. Dodge returns to his apartment, throws a lot of stuff here and there, and then goes out to attempt suicide in a park. But we see that he wakes up in the morning and discovers a cute dog next to him and a note on his chest saying, "Sorry." He then returns to his home while watching people start a riot in the neighborhood. He starts to read the letters given to him by Penny and finds a letter from Olivia stating that he is the love of her life. Soon after his return, he has to run away as he finds a stone thrown by a rioter breaking his window glass. He uses the fire escape and chooses to notify and save Penny as well. As he tries to find Penny, he meets Owen, who suspects him of sleeping with Penny. The three of them and the dog named Sorry then run from the building and try to locate where Penny had parked her car. Rioters start shooting, and Owen decides to use Penny as a human shield to protect himself from the bullets. When they finally find the car, it's trapped in a tight parking area, and Owen gets out to help them get on the road, but then starts shouting at her. Meanwhile, Dodge tells that he knows someone who has a plane and could get Penny back to her family and home. After hearing this, Penny decides to leave Owen behind, and the two of them, along with Sorry, leave in the car. In the next scene, we see that Dodge and Penny are arguing as they walk down the road because they ran out of fuel. Penny finds out about Olivia's letters and starts to feel guilty, then decides to help Dodge reunite with his high school sweetheart. They get a ride from a truck driver named Glenn. Penny makes him talk about his life story, and Dodge notices the shovels in the back of the truck, which makes him suspicious of him. They then stop at a point and Glenn goes to take a leak. Afterward, Penny goes with sorry and Glenn returns. He asks Dodge to kill him quickly but finds out that he's not the assassin he hired to kill himself. But the real assassin shoots Glenn in the neck just a few moments after that. Dodge and Penny decide to bury him and then take his truck. They find a restaurant called Frenzy's and decide to stop there. They meet Darcy and Katie, the overly welcoming waiters. They have a meal there and then everyone proceeds to wish Dodge a happy last birthday. Dodge gets kisses from the waiters, but before the things start getting too messy, the two of them leave. They then have a moment in the car and they kiss, but then we see Dodge being apologetic as he thinks that should not have happened. Penny brushes it off. They are then stopped by a cop, Wally. Penny tries to make him let them go, but he puts them behind the bars where Penny has a breakdown due to guilt of destroying her life and dragging Dodge into it as well. Dodge confronts her from the other cell as he talks about his life. Another policeman then lets them go after returning sorry to them. He also drops them off in Camden. Here we meet Speck, who's Penny's ex as well. Penny gets to talk to her parents and siblings on a satellite phone at Speck's place. Dodge and Penny then leave with a borrowed car from Speck. They finally reach Olivia's house, but it was empty, so they decide to stay there for a while. Dodge takes a nap, and when he wakes up, he finds Penny preparing a meal for the two of them. They eat while talking about mundane things. Afterward, Penny finds another letter in the kitchen and gives it to Dodge. This letter had an address on it, so they decide to go there as well. When they arrive at the address, Dodge just leaves the letter at the door, even though he suspected Olivia is there. When Penny asked about it, he gave her a hint about his newfound love for her. As Dodge was looking at Penny, he was about to hit some pedestrians. They get out of the car and follow them to find out that they were going to the beach to get baptized. At the beach, Dodge and Penny share their feelings through a kiss instead of words, and Dodge teaches her how to play harmonica as well. They then go to Somerset where they meet a guy named Frank, who is also Dodge's father, who he has not met in over 25 years. After a bit of a discussion from the past, they decide to let go of everything and enjoy their final evening together. We then see Dodge carrying Penny, who's sleeping, to a plane. He then confesses his love to her while she sleeps and says that she's the love of his life and gives her his harmonica. Frank then takes off with Penny and Dodge returns to his home. Dodge finds Karen's note on the door of his apartment. He sees Elsa cleaning the apartment as he enters it and tells her to leave, but then decides to let her be as he sees her getting very confused. He then watches the final broadcast on TV as it announces that there are only 16 hours left before the asteroid hits Earth. Dodge, unable to rest his mind, goes to Penny's apartment and listens to her records. Soon, he sees that Penny has returned. She tells him that she made Frank turn back so she could be with Dodge. The two of them lay down in her bed talking to each other while looking in the eyes. She asks Dodge to promise he won't let her fall asleep and they talk about her childhood. When they start to hear explosions, Dodge tells her that he's really glad he got to know her. The explosion then kills them both while they look at each other with nothing but love.